Remember Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? Well, it's finally getting its sequel soon, but in the meantime, I've decided to replay this almost 4-year-old game in preparation for the new one. Funny enough, I actually did a review of this game when it came out, which is still on this very channel, so if you would like to watch my original review, please don't. I did this review when I was just starting out with these kinds of videos, so its quality is something I personally like to call bad. Also, I was really angry towards Death Stranding at the time in this video, and honestly, looking back, I really don't know what was going on there. But one thing I did say in this video was that this game was an 8.5 out of 10. So that begs the question, will that opinion of mine change now that I have replayed this game? Since I have originally played Fallen Order, I have become much more well versed in the gaming industry and its workings, and am an overall much bigger fan of video games as a whole now when compared to myself back in 2019. Meaning a big difference when reviewing this game this time around is I will be looking at this game through the eyes of a video game fan versus when I originally looked at this game as purely a Star Wars fan. So to start things off, what is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order? This is a game that is set in the Star Wars universe, taking place between episodes 3 and 4, you know, a part of the timeline Disney has never touched at all. Liar! Anyways, the story of this game follows Jedi Padawan Cal Kestis post Order 66, which, for those of you who don't know, was the command issued by Emperor Palpatine to have all Jedi executed as traitors to the Republic. Well, 4 years after this event, Cal has found himself getting hunted down by the Inquisitors after saving one of his work friends using his Force abilities, which he was keeping hidden for years. However, he is not alone in his new journey, as he has found himself joining the crew of the Mantis, where the group has a mission to find a Jedi holocron that stores the locations of all of the Force-sensitive children in the galaxy. This story, while nothing mind-blowing for the franchise, is still a very solid one to say the least. While it definitely reminded me of the Rebels TV series, the game's story still differs in enough ways that it doesn't just feel like a copy and paste. This game, however, does lack a memorable cast outside of the main character Cal and his droid BD-1. That said, Cal himself isn't the most interesting character in Star Wars either, but he serves the purpose of this story as the playable protagonist very well. They definitely played it safe with Cal, however, he does still have some personal aspects of his character that let him stand out, such as his relationship with BD-1, and his ability to be very crafty, which is shown through his ability to modify tech, including BD-1, or even his lightsaber. The supporting cast, while not the most memorable characters, as I've said before, are still enjoyable in their own ways. The two characters you get to know the most in this story are Cere and Grease. Cere is easily the most interesting character in this game, being a former Jedi who has cut herself off from the Force. Grease, on the other hand, is just another hotshot pilot for the franchise to act as a comic relief character. There's also a character you meet later on in the game named Marin, who is the last of the Night Sisters. Now, I'm keeping it vague with these characters in case you haven't played the game, and I'm trying to keep all the spoilers out of this review. But the issue the supporting cast has in this game isn't that they are bad characters or anything like that. No, the issue is that Cal just doesn't get to spend much time with them, and you barely get to see them and get to know them throughout the whole story. However, when Cal does share cutscenes with these characters or has dialogue throughout the levels over the comms, their interactions are always pretty enjoyable. So I wish there was more of them, as lack of screen time is really what I feel held these characters back. In this game, there's also a couple of cameos from characters from the shows or movies, including Saw Gerrera, because Disney at this time had a weird obsession with having this character cameo in seemingly everything Star Wars for a while. Actually, they're still doing that now. Sorry, I'm getting off topic. I do want to mention that there is a character in this game I thought was very well done, and that would be the main villain, the Second Sister. She serves the story as a great villain with understandable motives, which keeps her from feeling like a mindless foot soldier like some other Inquisitors have in Star Wars media. However, after all of this being said, the story definitely takes the backseat when compared to Fallen Order's gameplay. The best way I can describe how this game plays is that it takes elements from a Soulsborne game and the Uncharted series. Where this game reflects the Soulsborne series is in its combat system. It is almost entirely melee focused and features mechanics such as blocking and dodging to counter attacks. This game also has a parry mechanic very similar to the Soulsborne games. This game even features its own substitute for the flames with these meditation circles where you can rest to recover HP or unlock new abilities. This style of gameplay lends itself really well to the Star Wars franchise, but of course this game still puts its own Star Wars twist on this style of gameplay with its use of the Force abilities. A game about playing as a Jedi would be nothing without being able to use the Force. Throughout this game, Cal relearns how to use each of his Force abilities, as when you start this game, you only have Force Slow. But throughout the game, you unlock Force Push, Pull, and Jump. These abilities will come in handy when fighting the various enemies throughout the game. They will also be very useful when exploring the planets in the game. This is where the game borrows elements from Uncharted. Each world acts similarly to how a biome or level would act in other games. To traverse the world, you will use various methods such as wall running, platforming, and climbing to get from place to place. Each planet has a different theme from the last, and each comes with its own set of enemies to fight, as the only enemies that carry over from level to level are the stormtroopers. But each planet has its own set of hostile wildlife and bosses to fight. Speaking of the bosses, overall, they are pretty underwhelming in this game. Many of them are just beefed up versions of normal enemies. However, the ones I will give the devs huge props for are the lightsaber fights. The lightsaber duels in this game are some of, if not the best, in any Star Wars game ever made. And I just wish they did more of these instead of the giant creature fights. The one big negative I want to mention with this game are these Zelda-like dungeons. They just feel like they really drag on, and I don't feel rewarded getting through them, even though you walk out with a new Force ability. But to get back to talking positively about this game, I know I have my fair share of criticism with Fallen Order, but overall I still enjoyed this game. The combat is fun and it flows very well, and there's a ton to find and explore for those of you interested in side content. This game still stands as what broke EA's bad track record with Star Wars games. As I mentioned before, I originally gave this game an 8.5. Admittedly, I have to lower that score after revisiting the game to an 8 out of 10. Don't get me wrong, this is still a very solid game. Just this time around, I noticed more issues than I originally did when I played this game back in 2019. But again, at the time of me uploading this video, Jedi Survivor is right around the corner. And admittedly, EA has been a little cryptic about certain details of this game, so I'll take this time to go over some of my hopes for the sequel that I think will make the new game an improvement over its predecessor. For starters, I think the biggest change they need to make is they need to add more interactions between Cal and the side characters. This will allow us to get to know not just the returning characters better, but also let us get to know the new characters. I think it's a good way for them to do this by letting different characters serve as companions during missions, or take the God of War approach and just let a companion character follow you around for an entire level, or at least on certain planets. Another thing they should work on in the next game is the dungeons. The two that were in this game, to me at least, were very unengaging, so hopefully in Survivor they are shorter but more well thought out. Finally, I just hope this game lets Cal become more of his own unique character, as again, they definitely played it very safe of him in Fallen Order. Hey guys, so since writing this script, I have now seen the final gameplay trailer for Survivor, and funny enough, it seems some of my suggested improvements may actually be in this next game. So now I'm actually looking forward to this game even more than I already was. But that aside, hopefully you enjoyed this almost retrospective review of Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and I hope you will all rejoin me when I take a look at its sequel soon. Oh, also, Cal better still have his poncho in the new game at some point.
Will there be a poncho in the game?